Try to picture nothing at all, truly nothing. No air, no light, no particles, no matter in any form, just absolute emptiness. You can't. Really be honest, you think you can, but you can't. You imagine darkness, you imagine a void, yet even that darkness is still something. Even when you try to imagine empty space, you are still imagining space itself. And space turns out to be far stranger than you ever assumed. This is where things stop making sense. This is where intuition completely betrays you. So here's the question: what actually exists between atoms? You were taught that everything is made of atoms. Fair enough. And in your mind, they probably look like tiny solid spheres, packed tightly together, stacked side by side to form objects. But that picture is wrong. Atoms aren't little marbles stacked shoulder to shoulder. In solids, atoms sit close enough that their outer electron structure overlaps, close enough that your everyday intuition calls it touching. In many solids, those electrons can even become partly delocalized. The real shock is inside them. Compared to the nucleus, an atom is mostly empty volume. So what occupies that empty? Most people answer immediately: nothing. Empty space. Void. Atoms are the substance. And between them there's only absence, only separation, only nothingness waiting quietly. That answer is wrong. Not because nothing is a forbidden word, but because you're using it as a hiding place, a way to stop thinking. Between every atom in your body, every atom in this room, every atom in the universe, there is a real physical framework, something with structure, something that can carry energy, something that can carry momentum, something that can produce force, something that makes solid possible. Let me show you. Place your hand on a table. Go on. Try it if one is nearby. What do you feel? Firm, solid, resistant? Your hand stops. The table doesn't give. It feels like the most ordinary experience imaginable. But here's the truth. You did not touch the table the way your childhood imagination thinks touch works. Not like two billiard balls clicking together, not like hard edges meeting. At the boundary of atoms, there aren't clean surfaces. There are electron clouds, spread out, fuzzy distributions, negatively charged structures surrounding nuclei. When your hand moves toward the table, the electron structure in your skin overlaps with the electron structure in the table. And then the universe does what it always does. Negative charge resists negative charge, electromagnetic structure pushes back. Yes, and that's only the first layer, because if you think solidity is only like charges repel, you're still telling yourself a simplified bedtime story. The deeper reason matter has stiffness, the reason you can't just slide your hand through the table like fog, is quantum structure, the Pauli exclusion principle. The rule that identical electrons cannot all pile into the same quantum state. So when you press your hand down, you are trying to force two organized electron systems to occupy configurations they're not allowed to occupy. You're trying to squeeze quantum states into a smaller and smaller box, and the cost explodes. Energy shoots upward, resistance rises brutally. The system pushes back. That pushback is what your nerves translate as touch. So that feeling of solidity, that stopping force you experience, is not atoms striking atoms like rocks. It's fields pressing against fields. It's charge distributions resisting compression. It's quantum rules refusing to let matter collapse into the same set of states. Your brain interprets that invisible resistance as hardness, as contact, as I touched it. But at the microscopic level, there is always a separation, an equilibrium standoff distance, set by forces and quantum constraints. Always a gap in the naive sense. Always a standoff in the physical sense. Your atoms don't merge with the table's atoms. They don't interpenetrate freely. They settle into a balance where pushing further becomes wildly expensive, which means something unsettling. You are floating right now, not metaphorically. At the atomic scale, yes. Not magic lift, not levitation. A microscopic hover where the energy cost of squeezing electron structure further skyrockets. Not a gap you could ever slip a needle through. You are not truly sitting on your chair the way your instincts picture it. You are held at a tiny standoff by electromagnetic interaction and quantum exclusion, balanced on an invisible structure of fields. You have been living on these standoff distances your entire life. Every time you believed you touched something, you were actually pressing organized electron structure into a regime where the universe says, enough, and the space you thought was empty? That space has been doing the real work all along. Now step back and reconsider the question we opened with. What truly exists in the space you keep calling between atoms? The answer is not mysterious. It's just unfamiliar. Fields. Electromagnetic fields, often screened, cancelled in the average, or hidden by neutrality, but still there in the structure. And if you look deeper, the quantum fields that make electrons and quarks what they are. And no, these are not mere abstractions. People misunderstand this constantly. They assume fields are just mathematical conveniences, clever tools physicists use to make equations behave. Useful, perhaps, but not real. That belief is false. A field is a physical entity. It occupies space. It stores energy. It carries momentum. It produces measurable effects. Every charged particle, every electron, every proton generates an electromagnetic field. In ideal conditions, that influence extends outward without a hard cutoff. The strength fades with distance, but it doesn't switch off like a lamp. In matter, charges rearrange and screen fields, so the effective influence can be cancelled locally, and any change in a field propagates at the speed of light, not instantly. The universe does not do instant updates, but the point remains. What you called nothing is not a dead backdrop. It's active structure. So atoms are not isolated dots drifting in emptiness. They are hubs, centers where patterns in fields become stable and dense. Each atom exists because quantum states bind under electromagnetic interaction, because field interactions and quantum rules allow stable, repeating structure. The space between atoms is not vacant. It is saturated with influence, electromagnetic interactions, quantum constraints, and the shared background of fields that exist everywhere. Layered, crowded, active. When you observe matter, when you perceive something as solid, you are witnessing an intricate network of interactions. Electron structure resisting electron structure, nuclei attracting electrons, bonds forming because fields and quantum states arrange into stable patterns. Solidity is not an inherent atom trait. It is an emergent behavior of interactions. Matter is not built from atoms the way bricks build a wall. Matter is built from fields arranged into patterns. Atoms are stable bound patterns, electron fields organized around nuclei, held together by electromagnetic interaction, shaped by quantum rules. And those fields do not exist only inside atoms. They extend through space, overlap, and communicate forces that create structure everywhere. At this moment, invisible forces are pushing and pulling, stabilizing arrangements, binding molecules, preventing collapse, preventing dispersal. Chemical bonds, the forces that join atoms into molecules, are electromagnetic interaction and quantum structure doing real work, continuously, relentlessly. The architecture of matter is an architecture of fields. So when you ask what lies between atoms, the answer is not emptiness. It is field. It is interaction. It is the unseen framework that makes touch feel real, while preventing matter from simply passing through itself. You never touch anything in the naive, hard surfaces meet sense, because something always stands between you and everything else. Structured fields plus quantum rules. But now things take an even stranger turn. Up to this point, we've shown that the space around matter is filled with fields that generate forces and structure. That already ruins the simple void picture. But it isn't the end of the story. It isn't even where it becomes truly strange. So consider this. What happens if you remove every atom? Not just most of them, every single one. You isolate a region of space and strip away all conventional matter. Every atom, every molecule, every trace of substance. You create the most perfect vacuum you can imagine. What remains? Your intuition says, nothing. That's what vacuum sounds like. Physics says, careful. In quantum field theory, vacuum does not mean absolute nothing. It means a physical state, the lowest energy configuration of the fields that exist there. A state, a configuration, a real condition of reality. And once you accept that, the next idea becomes unavoidable. Even the lowest energy state is not a perfectly classical stillness, not a dead silence. Because quantum theory does not grant you perfectly definite values sitting motionless like labels on a shelf. It gives you limits on how sharp certain descriptions can be, and it describes the vacuum as a structured baseline, not a blank page. You've heard this as the uncertainty principle, and most people think it means only this. Observing a system disturbs it. That's part of the story. But the deeper point is structural. When you describe processes over very short timescales, the energy you can meaningfully assign to that process has an unavoidable spread. Not because you are clumsy, but because the theory does not behave like a classical movie frame by frame. So, what does the vacuum do? It fluctuates, not as mystical trembling, but as unavoidable quantum structure, correlations, zero-point behavior, and a kind of baseline restlessness in what can be said about field values. Now, this is where popular explanations sprint into danger because you've heard a phrase that sounds like a cartoon. Virtual particles pop in and out of existence. Here's the rule. Treat that as a metaphor, not as literal tiny marbles appearing from nowhere. Virtual particles are not ordinary particles you can trap. They are not little objects hiding in the vacuum waiting to be caught. They are a way of describing intermediate processes in quantum calculations, the internal bookkeeping that helps you compute real, measurable effects. The effects are real. The little particles popping imagery is a crutch. A useful crutch if you don't worship it. Now you might ask, wait, if there are fluctuations, where does the energy come from? Doesn't this violate conservation? Good. That question means you're still awake. And the answer is no. Energy conservation is not casually broken and then repaid like a prank. The full accounting works when you treat the whole system correctly. What quantum theory refuses to give you is a clean classical story at every instant. Intermediate descriptions do not behave like tidy snapshots. If you insist on a picture, keep it honest. The vacuum is not empty the way your intuition wants. It is a physical baseline state of fields, and that baseline can produce measurable consequences. You can prove this with an experiment. Consider the Casimir effect. Two extremely thin, very flat conductive plates are placed extremely close together in a vacuum, almost touching, but not quite. A tiny gap separates them, and they move. They are drawn toward each other. Not because gravity is pulling them together. Gravity at that scale is pathetic. Not because you rubbed them on a sweater. Plates can be net neutral. And yes, in real experiments, you have to control for mundane annoyances, patch potentials, stray electrostatic effects, van der Waals forces, real material conductivity, roughness, temperature, because nature loves to sneak in extra influences. But after you account for those, the force that remains agrees with the quantum prediction within the corrected real material model. So why does it happen? Not because virtual particles can't fit, like physical beads in a narrow crack, because the plates impose boundary conditions. They change which electromagnetic field modes are allowed in the space between them. The spectrum of allowed fluctuations inside the gap differs from outside. Fewer allowed modes inside than outside. Different energy density, different pressure. And pressure differences push, so the empty vacuum produces a measurable force. That should hit you like a punch, because it means emptiness is not a blank nothing. It is a physical state with structure and consequences. Now consider what this implies for our original question. What exists between atoms? Fields, yes. Electromagnetic interactions, yes. Quantum constraints, yes. But also, even the baseline empty space beneath it all is not a dead void. It is a field state, a structured vacuum, a background that is not featureless. So again, what lies between atoms? Not nothing. It is field. It is interaction. It is constraint. It is a shared physical fabric that does real work, even when you remove the stuff you thought mattered. Now, let's put all of this together, cleanly, without the cartoons. People often think of the vacuum as mere absence, a default background, a boring void left behind after you remove everything interesting. That perspective is wrong. The vacuum is not emptiness in the childish sense. It is the lowest energy state of fields. It is the quietest configuration available, not a perfectly still silence, but the baseline hum of reality. And here is the truly mind-bending part, stated correctly. Particles are not separate objects moving through empty space. In modern physics, particles are excitations of fields. A particle is a localized pattern, an excitation, where a field is doing something more energetic than its baseline. An electron is not a tiny ball sitting inside an electromagnetic field, and an electron is not the electromagnetic field concentrated. An electron is an excitation of the electron field. The electromagnetic field is what couples to it and carries the force. Different fields, different roles, one coherent structure. And these fields exist everywhere, not only where particles are located, but throughout space. The entire universe is saturated with overlapping fields extending through every region. Particles are the places where those fields become excited, where the universe makes something localized and measurable. Everything else, the empty regions, are still field, just in a quieter state. Now consider what this means for you. You are made of atoms. Those atoms contain huge empty volume compared to their nuclei. Yet that empty is full of electron structure, electromagnetic interaction, and quantum rules. And the baseline vacuum beneath it all is not dead either. You reach out, searching for the ultimate substance, the final solid thing at the core of everything. And the deeper you go, the more solid dissolves into structure. Atoms are mostly empty volume. That volume is full of field structure. That structure is governed by quantum rules, and the so-called vacuum underneath is still a physical state. It's like trying to find the bottom of a lake, only to discover there is no rock slab waiting for you, only deeper water, deeper description, deeper structure. At some point, you stop demanding a pebble and accept what the universe actually offers, process and pattern. The universe is not made of things the way your language wants. It is made to happen. Matter is not a substance contained within a void. Matter is stable pattern in fields, organized excitation, held in shape by interaction. And yes, the empty space beside you and the matter of your body are described by the same underlying fields, different states, different patterns, different intensities. Now here's another truth people love to misinterpret. These fields connect everything, but not in the mystical, instant cosmic thread sense. Fields are defined everywhere, and influences propagate locally at the speed of light. Screening happens. Causality rules. The universe is not a telepathy machine. Still, there is no sharp ontological wall where you end and the rest of reality begins. You are a localized pattern inside a shared physical fabric. So again, what lies between atoms? Real physical fields carrying energy and momentum, interactions that produce force, quantum constraints that create solidity, a vacuum state that is not featureless nothing, not emptiness, never the kind your intuition imagines. When you reach out and touch something, you are not crossing a dead void. You are moving through fields. Your fields meet other fields. Electromagnetic interaction and quantum structure create resistance. Your brain names that resistance contact. The solid world you think you live in and the empty space you imagine around it are not two different substances. They are different patterns in the same underlying reality. Once you truly see that, reality looks different. The world is no longer solid objects floating in nothing. It becomes what it really is. A network of interacting fields, emergent structure, and ceaseless activity, no hard edges anywhere, and no truly featureless emptiness hiding between things. You are made of it, a brief, intricate pattern in a fabric that existed before you and will persist after you. The space inside you, the space between galaxies, it is still space, still field, still physical baseline state. The difference is organization. That is the answer. This is what exists between atoms, not nothing, not void, not a blank, field, structure, interaction, constraint. So now, can you imagine nothing? True nothing, absolute void? You cannot. And now you know why. Nothing, as your intuition wants it, is not something the universe hands you as a physical place you can point to. The closest you get is a vacuum state, and even that is a real state of fields with measurable consequences. Even the quietest, most remote, most vacant corner of space carries the baseline structure of reality. It can exert forces under the right conditions. It refuses to be a perfectly dead blank. That is what lies between atoms. That is what lies between everything. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Solid matter dissolves into an organized pattern. The vacuum reveals itself as a physical baseline, not nothing. And empty space stops being empty in the way you used to mean it. And now, when you ask what lies between the atoms, you know the answer is not nothing. It is a field. It is interaction. It is a constant constraint and constant becoming. The universe is not a collection of solid objects separated by emptiness, but a living web of structure where everything presses on everything else through invisible rules you can measure. Once you see this, the world never looks the same again. If this changed the way you think about reality, about matter, or about yourself, take a moment to leave a like, share this video, and subscribe for more journeys into the deepest questions of the universe. Because once you start looking beneath the surface, there is no turning back.